Cap, the sensors are spiking. Something's off, shouted Lieutenant Mara as she peered at the shimmering display. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Steady, everyone, barked Captain Renaud, his voice low and tense as he strode into the control room. I want all hands on deck. Engineer Jax, confirm the drill's status immediately. In the dim light of the Nautilus II's control bay, Jax's fingers danced over the console. Drill's holding steady, Captain, but I'm reading anomalous energy signatures. It's not ice, it's something crystalline. Dr. Ilya Mendez, the ship's xenobiologist, leaned forward with a mix of awe and dread. Crystalline? That can't be right. The pattern, the structure, it's organic, almost alive. We're not just drilling into Uranus storms. We're cutting into a living tapestry. A low hum vibrated through the vessel, and outside the viewport, Uranus' swirling ice storms churned with an intensity that defied explanation. I'm getting chatter from the xenogeology team, reported Specialist Vera, her voice trembling with equal parts fear and excitement. They say the drill penetrated a barrier, a lattice of light and spores. It's as if the storm itself is a shield. Shield or seed, mused Captain Renaud, his eyes darkening. I want a full spectrum analysis now. We need to know what we've awakened. The drill's progress was relentless, carving a path deeper into the unknown. The ship's speakers crackled with the sound of frantic data transmissions, and in the lab, Dr. Mendez's colleagues exchanged worried glances. This is no ordinary phenomenon, he said quietly, almost to himself. These bioluminescent spores, they're not random. They're structured. They signal something and intelligence. Intelligence? Echoed Security Officer Rhea as she secured the bulkhead. Are we sure we aren't triggering a trap? Some ancient defense system? Before anyone could respond, the drill's advance halted abruptly. A sudden surge of energy flooded the console, and the holographic display transformed into a kaleidoscope of fractal patterns. The seed, it's activating, cried Jax, his hands shaking as he recalibrated the instruments. It's drawing power directly from the ship's core systems. A tense silence fell, punctuated only by the frantic beeping of alarms. This isn't what we signed up for, snapped Lieutenant Mara, her voice laced with both terror and exhilaration. We were supposed to explore, not trigger a cosmic meltdown. As the crew struggled to regain control, Captain Renaud's authoritative tone cut through the chaos. Focus, people. I need a status update on all systems. Is the ship holding? In the dim corridors beyond the control room, whispers spread like wildfire. A faction of the crew, emboldened by the promise of untold knowledge, argued fervently in hushed tones near the observation deck. This could be our chance, insisted Commander Darius, his eyes gleaming with unbridled ambition. Think of it. An ancient terraforming seed engineered by beings older than Earth itself. We could harness this technology to save our dying world. But others were less convinced. You're blinded by greed, countered Navigator Eliana, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. This isn't a gift, it's a warning. The text we dismissed as myth spoke of celestial omens. What if we've just awakened a force beyond our control? Outside, the view of Uranus was transforming. The once chaotic ice storms now shimmered with deliberate fractal order, a mesmerizing display that belied the terror unfolding within the ship. Dr. Mendez, examining the rapidly evolving data, muttered, "It's as if the planet is communicating with us, using the language of light and pattern." The Zyntheri left behind more than relics. They left a legacy encoded in the very fabric of Uranus' atmosphere. In the midst of the mounting chaos, a lone saboteur lurked in the shadows, a disillusioned crew member whose loyalty had shifted beneath the weight of ethical uncertainty. Hidden behind a maintenance hatch, the saboteur's gloved hand hovered over a control switch. The plan was desperate. Initiate a meltdown sequence to halt the terraforming process and sever the seed's connection to the ship's energy reserves. If we destroy it, the saboteur whispered to no one in particular, we might just save ourselves from a fate worse than oblivion. At that precise moment, a piercing alarm rang out, and red lights bathed the corridors. "Captain, we've detected an unauthorized access attempt in the engineering bay," shouted Jax, his voice strained. "Someone's trying to override the safety protocols." Captain Renaud's jaw tightened. "Secure the area. No one leaves until we have answers. I want a full lockdown. Darius, take a team and find the saboteur." Commander Darius, though eager for the technological bounty promised by the alien seed, now found himself torn between ambition and duty. "Understood, Captain," he said grimly, rallying a small unit of security. Let's bring them in before they can do irreparable damage. As teams dispersed through the labyrinthine corridors of the Nautilus II, the central control room became a stage for the unfolding drama. Dr. Mendez's eyes remained fixed on the swirling data. This seed isn't just altering the planet's atmosphere, he explained to anyone who would listen. It's rewriting the rules of nature, morphing Uranus into a living emblem, a beacon that spans 20 light years, signaling a harvest, a transformation that's been in the making for 4.2 billion years. The ship shuddered as the energy surge from the seed intensified. "We're losing control," shouted Lieutenant Mara, as the vessel's artificial gravity flickered and the floor trembled beneath their feet. "The seed is feeding off our power. It's almost like it's alive." In the midst of the panic, Navigator Eliana clutched the railing near the viewport, her voice quavering with a mix of wonder and fear. "Look outside, the storms, they're aligning into a pattern. It's as if the very atmosphere is forming a symbol, the Zyntheri mark." The crew watched in a state of mesmerized horror as Uranus' swirling vortex coalesced into a singular, unmistakable emblem, a fractal sigil that glowed with an ethereal light. "That symbol," murmured Dr. Mendez, "it's been encoded in ancient alien texts. A message, a prophecy perhaps." The seed was meant to awaken at this precise moment. Back in the engineering bay, Commander Darius and his team cornered the saboteur, a gaunt figure shrouded in shadow, eyes darting nervously. "Who are you?" demanded Darius, his tone a mix of authority and betrayal. "What do you hope to achieve by sabotaging our mission?" The saboteur's voice was barely audible. "You're playing with forces that should remain undisturbed," they hissed. "The Zyntheri warned us. This seed is not our salvation, but our undoing. You're tampering with a cosmic inheritance that was meant to lie dormant." Rhea, arriving just in time to witness the confrontation, interjected sharply. "We're all in this together. Sabotage or not. We must decide whether to harness this power or let it run its course. But making that choice without understanding its full consequences is reckless." A bitter silence fell over the group. The saboteur's eyes, filled with regret and conviction, met those of Commander Darius. "I did this because I believe our ambition blinds us to the natural order. The texts, the celestial warnings, they weren't mere superstition. They were instructions, guiding us to respect the balance of life." In the control room, Captain Renault's voice resonated with grim determination. "I know many of you see this as a path to salvation for our dying world. But there is a price. We are witnessing the birth of an entirely new paradigm, a terraforming process that defies human ethics and natural law. Do we dare claim the legacy of a Zyntheri?" Dr. Mendez's analytical mind churned as he recalculated the data streaming in. The energy drawn from our systems is accelerating the seed's activation. In less than 12 hours, the atmosphere will have transformed completely. If we don't intervene, this process will become irreversible. "Intervention might be our salvation or our curse," countered Navigator Eliana, her eyes fixed on the glowing sigil outside. "We're on the precipice of a choice that will echo through the cosmos. Destroy the seed, and we risk annihilating a technology that could save countless lives. Let it persist, and we might unleash a force that renders our future meaningless." The ship groaned as if burdened by the weight of destiny. In the corridors, whispers of betrayal and hope intermingled with the raw fear of impending doom. "What if this seed isn't a weapon, but a gift?" posited Commander Darius, his voice tentative yet laced with the lure of forbidden knowledge. "A gift from an extinct civilization, offering us the means to reshape worlds. But then, who are we to decide the fate of an entire planet, and perhaps the galaxy?" At that moment, the central chamber's monitors erupted in a flurry of alerts. The terraforming seed, now fully awakened, pulsed with a rhythmic energy that matched the heartbeat of the Nautilus II. "We're losing structural integrity," reported Engineer Jax urgently. "The ship's core is overheating. If we don't dissipate the energy soon, we're looking at a complete meltdown." Captain Renault's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the chaos. "Options, people. We either sacrifice our vessel to contain this process or allow the seed to propagate and alter Uranus forever. I'm not making this decision alone. What are your orders?" In a hushed, collective moment of reckoning, the crew's descent split into two polarized camps. One group, led by Commander Darius and a fervent minority, argued for embracing the seed's potential. This is our chance to inherit a technology that could redefine our destiny, they proclaim passionately. We stand on the edge of a new era, one where we learn from the Zyntheri and elevate humanity to unforeseen heights. Opposing them were voices like that of Navigator Eliana and Security Officer Rhea, who saw the process as an existential risk. We must not be seduced by ambition, they countered. Our interference with ancient forces has consequences beyond our reckoning. The texts warned us. To awaken the seed is to invite a reckoning from the cosmos. As the debate raged in the control room, the saboteur, now unmasked as Dr. Lorien, a once trusted member of the scientific team, stepped forward with trembling resolve. I carried out my actions not out of malice, but from a desperate hope to preserve the natural order. The Zyntheri legacy was never meant for us to wield. Our hubris could be the catalyst for our downfall. A heavy silence descended as every soul aboard the Nautilus II grappled with the enormity of their choices. The ship's energy feedback loop intensified, and the transformed atmosphere of Uranus pulsed like the rhythm of a distant, ancient drum. If we continue on this path, whispered Lieutenant Mara, we'll be rewriting the laws of existence. The terraforming seed is not just technology. It's a living testament to the creators of the cosmos. With every passing minute, the ship's fate hung in a precarious balance. In the engineering bay, Engineer Jax initiated an emergency protocol, his fingers moving with mechanical precision even as his heart pounded in terror. I'm diverting power to the auxiliary systems to try and stabilize the core. But if this seed isn't shut down, nothing will stop the meltdown. Outside, the view through the observation deck window was both mesmerizing and horrifying. Uranus storms, once wild and unpredictable, now followed a deliberate choreography. The fractal emblem of the Zyntheri burned across the sky, a cosmic signature that seemed to communicate in a language beyond words. It's a beacon, Dr. Mendez murmured, a signal to anyone or anything that might be watching. We've become part of an inheritance far grander than our petty squabbles. Captain Renaud's eyes met those of his crew, each face a portrait of fear, ambition, and regret. This is our crossroad, he declared, his voice echoing over the ship's intercom. We have two choices: fight against what we've unleashed and risk everything, or embrace this unknown legacy and attempt to steer it for the betterment of all. But know this, no matter which path we choose, the consequences will ripple through every corner of the galaxy. A murmur of assent and dissent rippled through the room. Commander Darius's eyes shone with fervor as he stepped closer to the captain. We must seize this moment, he urged, for it is our destiny to harness the knowledge of the ancients. Imagine a future where we can reverse the climate catastrophe on Earth by tapping into this power. The cost may be high, but the rewards, beyond our wildest dreams, could be immeasurable. Navigator Eliana, her expression somber, countered, and what if the price is our humanity? What if in our quest to conquer nature, we end up losing our very souls? The Zyntheri did not leave us this legacy to play gods. They left it as a cautionary tale of hubris and consequence. The tension escalated until a sudden, jarring jolt rocked the ship. The Nautilus II shuddered violently, and red warning lights flared across every panel. We're losing containment, Engineer Jack shouted, struggling to maintain control. The core is reaching critical mass. I'm initiating a full system shutdown. This might be our last chance to prevent total annihilation. In the chaos, voices overlapped, each pleading for salvation or demanding the sacrifice of the vessel for a greater cause. No, Jax, don't do it, cried Lieutenant Mara, her voice cracking with emotion. We can't just abandon our mission. There has to be another way. From behind a reinforced bulkhead, Dr. Lorien's voice broke through once more, laden with sorrow and resolve. I tried to warn you. My actions were not meant to doom us, but to force a confrontation with our own limits. We're meddling with forces that have existed long before us, and will continue long after we're gone. Perhaps the true legacy of Zyntheri is to teach us humility, not dominion. Captain Renaud's gaze swept across the room, absorbing the raw emotions etched on every face. Make your choice, he commanded, voice firm yet tinged with sorrow. We either commit fully to this path, harnessing the seed's energy to reshape our future, or we attempt to sever its connection and preserve what remains of our ship and ourselves. A beat of silence ensued, punctuated only by the distant, rhythmic pulse of Uranus' newly ordered storms. Then, almost simultaneously, factions within the crew began to move. One group toward the control panel to stabilize the core, the other rallying to amplify the seed's power in hopes of redirecting it. The split was stark. 87% of the crew's descent had crystallized into a palpable divide, each faction convinced of their own righteousness. In the control room, amidst flashing panels and desperate commands, the struggle for control became both literal and metaphorical. "Override the shutdown protocol," Commander Darius ordered, his fingers flying over the interface. "We're not letting this be the end of us. We're the inheritors of a power that can change everything." But Navigator Eliana's steady hand on her console countered the fervor. "That's reckless. We're teetering on the brink of catastrophe. If we let the seed run unchecked, we'll lose ourselves to its cosmic hunger." Outside, the transformed sky bore witness to the unfolding conflict. The fractal symbol burned brighter, a testament to the long-extinct Zyntheri whose engineering had transcended the boundaries of time. "Listen to that," murmured Dr. Mendez, transfixed by the display. "It's as if the planet is speaking to us, warning us, guiding us. Our very survival hinges on deciphering its message." As the two opposing camps clashed in a desperate bid for control, the ship's infrastructure groaned under the strain of competing energies. The saboteurs' earlier actions had set in motion an irreversible chain reaction, one that now demanded a sacrifice. "We can't have both paths," Captain Renaud intoned, his voice echoing with finality. "Choose now. Preserve the ship and sever the seed's connection, or let the seed fully awaken, even if it means our end." A heartbeat of suspended time passed as the crew wrestled with their conscience. The cacophony of voices, the flashing red lights, and the omnipresent hum of the alien mechanism formed a symphony of imminent fate. In that charged moment, the choice was no longer theoretical. It was an existential ultimatum. Then, in an act that seemed to suspend time itself, a solitary figure stepped forward from the midst of the turmoil. Dr. Lorien, eyes brimming with tears and conviction, declared, "I accept responsibility. I will manually override the sequence to contain the seed's energy. If this is the only way to preserve what little we have left, then I must bear that burden, even if it costs me everything." Her words, heavy with sacrifice, resonated through the control room like a final plea for redemption. "Dr. Lorien, are you certain?" Captain Renaud asked, his voice softening in the rare moment of vulnerability. She met his gaze with a steady resolve. "I am. Our legacy must not be built on the reckless ambition of those who would play gods. The Zyntheri's gift was meant to be a lesson, one we've failed to learn. If my actions can restore balance, then let it be so." With trembling determination, Dr. Lorien moved toward the central override panel. Her fingers brushed over the controls, initiating a complex sequence that attempted to dissipate the runaway energy feeding the terraforming seed. The room fell into a reverent hush as the ship's core systems began to stabilize, and for a brief, shining moment, hope flickered amid despair. The fractal emblem outside wavered, its luminous edges softening as if acknowledging the sacrifice made in that moment. In the silence that followed, Captain Renaud whispered, "May we learn from this. May we never again be so blinded by our own ambition that we risk our very souls." Then, as if in response, the transformed atmosphere of Uranus pulsed with a measured rhythm, its chaotic energy slowly receding into a stable cadence. The immediate threat of meltdown diminished, yet the profound questions remained, etched into every fiber of the Nautilus II and whispered by the winds of a newly tamed planet. In that charged silence, voices rose once more, not in protest, but in a cautious unity. "We've glimpsed a power far beyond our understanding," murmured Navigator Eliana, her tone reflective. "But we must now decide how to live with that knowledge. Do we honor it as a lesson, or do we risk repeating our mistakes?" Lieutenant Mara, still shaken from the tumult, added softly, "We've been given a second chance, a moment to choose our path with wisdom, not hubris. Let our future be defined by balance, not by the reckless desire to control what lies beyond." The corridors of the Nautilus II, once echoing with the clamor of dissent, now resonated with a tentative harmony. The crew, fractured yet united in the wake of crisis, began to rebuild not just their vessel, but the very foundation of their beliefs. Their ordeal on Uranus was far from over. The legacy of the Zyntheri, the terraforming seed, and the cosmic lessons it imparted would linger long after the immediate danger had passed. As the Nautilus II steadied its course through the transformed storms of Uranus, the silent beacon in the sky continued to burn, a cryptic reminder of a legacy written in the language of light and sacrifice. The crew's journey, marked by conflict and redemption, had set them on an uncharted path. The legacy of ancient architects and the moral weight of their own ambition now intertwined, casting a long shadow over the future of humanity. In that moment of fragile calm, Captain Renault's voice broke the silence one final time. "Let this be our covenant," he declared, his tone resolute yet imbued with humility. "We shall honor the lesson of this day, not by seeking dominion over the cosmos, but by embracing the responsibility that comes with such power. Our path forward will be one of cautious stewardship, guided by the wisdom of the past and the promise of a future where every choice is weighed with care." The words hung in the air as the crew absorbed the gravity of their shared decision. Their eyes turned toward the horizon of Uranus, where the fractal emblem still glowed faintly, a reminder of both the dangers and the possibilities that lay in wait among the stars. And in that silent, charged moment, each soul aboard the Nautilus II knew that the legacy of the Zyntheri was not a tale of hubris and ruin, but a call to learn, to evolve, and to forge a future tempered by humility and wonder.